going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Swagcast. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button. And if you're not on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, wherever you're listening, smash that follow button and give us a like. Let's move up in the algo a little bit. Today I have a very special guest. I'm really happy for this one. This is an incredible guest on the Swagcast catalog. We have the OG of the UFC esports podcast, the king of the comms booth, a kind and creative savage that kicked cancer's ass, BaronVonJedi. What's going on, Jedi? How we doing, baby?
Wow, very good, Swaggy. Thank you very much for the intro. You've that's kind of like your thing now. Like you're the intro guy. You make everybody feel so welcome.
Yeah, no, Marshall felt gassed up. He was like, that's like a Dwayne Johnson intro. And I explained to him, I give everybody these intros. Everybody feels like they're a star in my presence, and you're a star. Like you're a cool guy, Jedi. You often say it's funny. Cause if you really look at the wide scope, you often come in my chat, you say you want to fight me, and you say that I've taken everything you worked for.
That's right. Because
I do have the podcast.
Yes.
I am in the PT comms booth.
Yes.
And that, yeah. I mean,
these are all true things. See, here's the thing, Swaggy, is that this is I worked my ass off through commentating to get to PT, and then I had the podcast, and as soon as I get sick, you go, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to just swoop right on in and just take everything that Jedi has been working on and just double down on it. And fucking for the last 9 months, I've sat back and suffered and watched. And I've been proud of you. You've done a good job. Yes, I've come in every so often into the chat and said, the famous Nick Diaz line, I want your ass, because you've taken everything that I've worked for. But no, man, like you've done your own thing, and you've done a good job at it. And like you do the primetime podcast, and people love you on that. You have got your own podcast now, and people love you on that. So
choose your words wisely with the primetime podcast. People, I'm the villain there. People
and that's what people love. People love the villain.
I've gotten into it with a lot of the stars. Even Fatinator has called me a two-faced loser.
Well, you are two-faced. Let's not get it twisted. You're definitely two-faced. I mean, you will fucking dime.
I flip my opinion easy. Like I'm just
very easily.
One day for me, Fad was the best in the world. The next day for me, he was just a normal lad.
So crazy. It's the craziest fucking opinion ever. It's so wild.
No, he's back to the best in my opinion now. But all right, so I want to talk about a couple things. I want to go way back because I want to get into everything with you. But I want to go way back first, and I want to what you first built up like originally. Maybe if we go back in like maybe this is shooting, but maybe like as far as like last August, like and you came out with your own podcast, and that podcast was used to really spread a spotlight on the UFC community and all of the drama within it. Can you kind of go over that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the goal was necessarily like to put a spotlight on any type of drama. I think that that's just like what was going on at the time, especially with Nas and what everybody accusing him of using a Cronus at the time. Like there was a lot of drama behind that. There was a lot of drama behind what was that one dude that did the league where he paid everybody but he didn't pay everyone.
Manny?
What was that dude? Manny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was all that, like, and then like everything with like the UFE and their multi-promotional tournament. Like there was so much that was going on with UFC 4, and then on top of all that, it was UFC 5 was coming out, and boy, people had a lot of opinions about it. So, yeah, I mean, when I first started it, I kind of wanted to approach it with like an Ariel Helwani type of approach where I brought on not only competitors to give them a voice and like maybe have uh that like I wanted to develop a new dimension uh to this competitive scene, which was having the competitors have a voice and have them talk their shit. I want competitors to come on my podcast and for me to play a clip of somebody that I want Fad to come on my podcast and me play a clip of what Nas said about him. You know what I mean, or vice versa. And I thought that that would be really cool. Kind of, I guess building its own drama in and of a sense. But I also wanted to bring on uh like promotion presidents, like Cyrus or Lucky with Supremacy FC or whoever had a league at the time. Like I wanted to bring in promoters, I want to bring in matchmakers. Like I want to talk to people who like run this shit because I don't know how to run this shit, and some people do and some people don't, and it's interesting to hear different perspectives from competitors and people who game plan, like John Africa, who is a super intelligent guy. I'm a huge fan of that dude. um or promoters, or you know what I mean, like whether new or old. Like it's everybody has something new to add to the community. So I wanted to start something that could give back to the community in a sense of like a new form of entertainment, but also like I said, like give them a voice, give them the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, no, and you did speak to a lot of people. I remember one specific live podcast you had was with Vuck, and that one went crazy because Vuck said Vuck always gets himself in trouble because he doesn't speak the best English, and so he got himself in trouble, and so you brought him on to clear his name up, and from there, from like that episode, you were in the booth for everything. You were in the booth for the big ECA Grand Prix, which I
Mhm.
fought in with COVID, by the way. You were in you hopped in the PT booth, like you were in pretty much all the booths. Can you kind of explain like what it meant to get into the comms booth? Because I know it was a big deal to get into the PT booth. It was for me as well, and like kind of like expanding on all of these things.
So man, so if we go back a little further to the start of me commentating, that was kind of me. Like somebody had approached me and they were like, "Hey, like I just started a new league. Would you like to participate?" And um, for years, for years and years and years, whether it be EA, um, UFC, EA MMA, THQ UFC games, I've always tried to find a league to compete in, and I have never found success in any of them. So I by the time like UFC 4 came out, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna compete in any of these leagues. I'm just gonna like have fun on quick match or ranked or whatever, and that be the end of it. And someone came up and they approached me and they were like, "Hey, do you want to participate?" And I said, "You know what? No, but I'll watch." And I watched one uh one league card from this new league called Lionheart. And it was probably by the next card that they were like, "Hey, do you want to commentate?" So I said, "Okay, yeah, sure. Like I've got a mic. I can do this." Like there was only one dude that was commentating at the time and it wasn't it wasn't great. So I was like, I could do way better.
That
And I think
that
we all have that confidence in ourselves. We're always like we hear something or we see something and we're like, "Fuck this guy. I can do way better than that guy." Right? So that was me. Like I was like, "Oh fuck this guy. I can do way better than this." So I got in there and I did the commentating, and yeah, from there I started looking for more leagues. I eventually found Prime Time and I was like, "Oh fuck, like, like when you start from a really smaller league and you eventually like work through your way through a lot of these leagues and eventually find leagues like PT or ESFL or like a lot of these top leagues, you eventually find them and you're like, oh shit, like this is what top competition, this is what top commentary sounds like, this is what top production looks like, for something that is really kind of a hobby more than anything else. So yeah, man, when I started to get into like the PT comms, when they listen, when Cyrus or Doctor, whoever it was, hit me up in the DMs and they were like, "Hey, like, we see your application in the PT staff application chat. Like, we see how many people vouch for you. Like, why don't you come on? Like, why don't you come and like, you know, try out or whatever?" And like, dude, I didn't even get like a full commentary position. I somehow forced them and made my own like Dean Thomas position where they would just bring me in occasionally and I would just give my opinion on like who needs to do what to find more success in a fight. And yeah, like it was amazing. It was super cool just to do that. Like and I would love to do normal commentary as well, and I'm sure I'll get the opportunity to do that. But just to do that in the moment after working so hard to like, I commentated for Lionheart and started there, and I did that for, like you said, like the multi promotional tournament, and I commentated for a couple different other places, and I eventually like I was intentionally working my way to eventually get to prime time and eventually get to ESFL. And I've got the opportunities now, and it's crazy. It's wild. It's not something I thought would actually ever happen.
Yeah, no. I actually, as you were telling that story, it all started coming back to me. Like I remember when everybody was like the Discord was like on fire. There was like 10 to 15 people just like tagging Cyrus and Doc, like vouching for you. Humble was in this. Humble wasn't retired yet at the time as well. So Humble was still in there. And I remember the post-mortem podcast was supposed to be me and you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I got stuck with Doc.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which I mean that the powers that be might eventually change that and put things to the way that they were supposed to be in the beginning, but
nah,
what we'll see.
the way I've been working up on the pod, I'm getting fired. You're replacing me for sure. That Cyrus is firing one of us. I don't think it's
See
really
here,
not.
here's the thing though, is that I don't know if I can really play the villain part as well as you, and they need a villain. Like
Nah,
they
you're right. You're
Doc
right.
Doc is the voice of reason. You're the fucking a chaotic neutral one. So I mean, it kind of it fits. It all makes sense.
Nah, you're right. You're right. So now you get into you're finally in all of these spots. You're finally exactly where you want to be. And you get sick.
Hmm.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you want. Yeah. Um. Yeah.
I don't want to pressure you into it. If you don't want to talk about it, it's cool. If you don't want to
No,
like
I just like I don't. I kind of struggled with this feeling, especially like as we got the results that I wasn't sick anymore. That like, you know, people will probably ask me about it, and I'm not entirely convinced that they want to hear the story. I think that they'll like hear the story for like the first part and they go, "Oh, that's really fucked up," and then they tune it out. Like most people, and I'm not saying that you're doing this, but I think most people will ask um in an effort to be like, "Hey, I'm so sorry for you." And I was thinking about you, or blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a genuine like, fucking, I want to know about this. Like, tell me, but like, I'm interested. Like, tell me about this. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's all.
I'm generally interested. We talk about dark things on here. Cody Denka came on and talked about how he accidentally joined a cult one time.
Oh,
Um,
wow, shit.
yeah, but we can skip it and we can go. You are unsick now.
Yes, yeah. I mean, no, we can talk about it if you want. What do you want to know?
I kind of like get me like
You want like
I
a summary of like what happened?
a summary would be cool, but I more want like what was going through your mind when you first got the results that you were sick, and then I kind of want you to take me from there to getting better. What kind of treatments you did, because I generally have no medical knowledge, so that would all be nice knowledge for me. And kind of just take me through that road. It don't got to be a crazy long story, but whatever you want to give me.
Okay, so it's late October of last year. I'm just barely recovering from some really hardcore dental issues. In fact, like I've got a scar here on the side of my face where a tube used to stick out of my face. Um, that's kind of the that was kind of around the time where I stopped streaming and I stopped doing the podcast and I stopped doing everything because I had like my girlfriend had just broken up with me. I had to move. I just got into a new place. I was gonna get back into it, but then I got these infections and I'm like, fuck, I gotta take care of this shit. And it really fucked me up. Like it was rough. So I eventually got over that. I got the surgeries that I needed and whatever. I tried going back to work over the next 2 weeks and I couldn't. I just couldn't do the job. I would run out of breath. Um, I went in one morning and I like just loading the truck. I would have to sit down and like catch my breath with everybody else, working around me. And my boss would come up to me and she'd be like, "Dude, there is something like extra wrong with you, and like you need to get this checked out like now." So she was right. I figured with everything that I had going on between the breakup and the move and the infections in my mouth and everything, that like this was just like running out of breath was just a response of like stress. And it was just like, like these last like 2 months were just like too much. Like I think it was just like my body just felt run down. So I'm like, I just need to rest. I just need to like go to sleep and just like rest and I'll be okay in the next day. Well, the next day came along and like I made I made some ramen for dinner and very low intensity type movements and I sat down and I'm watching Twitch, probably you on the computer, and my Apple Watch goes off, and it's like, hey, dude, you're sitting, and your heart rate is like fucking way too fast. It's way too fast. And I was like, oh, that's a fucking serious issue. I was like, this is like way more concerning now than like my body just needs rest. So I went and got blood work done at a walk-in clinic. The next day, they called me up and they were like, "Well, you're anemic. However, we think that you should do this bone marrow biopsy because if you're not anemic, you've got cancer. So this bone marrow biopsy will tell us for sure." So I went to the hospital and it's an outpatient thing. They just stick you with a needle in from like into your hip, but from the back,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it removes both a liquid and solid part of your bone marrow. And
Okay.
they test those samples, and those samples are what will tell them if you have a blood-borne cancer like leukemia, which is what I had. So um, they uh, they called me up a couple days later after expediting the results, and they were like, "Dude, you need to go to the fucking hospital to start cancer treatment like yesterday." They were like, "You need to fucking go like right now, right now." And I'm like,
So, how far along? What like when you found out? What was it? Like what was like the time frame on it? Like what
so,
it was
so
already really bad.
I went in for the bone marrow biopsy like middle of October, and by
Uh
the
huh.
and like October like 28th, they were like I went to the hospital. So it was like a week and a half, like 2 weeks.
Okay.
So maybe not even that, maybe just like a week.
Hmm.
Um, so I freaked out because I'm like, fuck, like I've got a job and I've got bills to pay and I've got a cat like that I need to fucking take care of, and like I like my girlfriend just broke up with me in a town that I'm not familiar with and I don't know anybody here, and I'm like freaking out. my brother and his family live 8 hours away in Chicago. Like I have no family here. Like I'm just like fucking freaking out. So I call up my brother and I tell him what's going on. I'm like, hey dude, I have cancer. I need to go to the hospital. And he's like, oh fuck. So he starts trying to figure out how to come to me in Kansas. And yeah, I call up, or well, I go to my business owner. I go to the business and I'm like, "Hey, I have cancer. I need to go start cancer treatment like today. Can I give you my apartment key and can you go check on my cat and like just like feed her and like take care of her like while I'm gone? I don't know how long I'm going to be gone." And she was like she was like a huge animal person. So she's like, "Absolutely, like no problem. Like
Yeah.
fucking go take care of you." So I go to Kansas City, and for the month of November, I stayed in the hospital. The first week, I was introduced to the chemotherapy, and I got what's called a 7+3, which is uh, it's a 7-day treatment of chemo,
Okay.
um, but it's like it's a couple different drugs that make up like your like all of your chemotherapy. So it's 7 days of like your typical chemotherapy drug, and then out of those 7 days, 3 of those days will also have an extra drug. So that's why it's called 7+3.
Okay.
Right? So I it was every 12 hours I would get chemotherapy from day 1 to day 7. And I felt like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh I lost a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to eat. I didn't have any energy. All I wanted to do was really just sleep. Thankfully, you know, uh, my brother came out and my family came out and they saw me and visited me in the hospital. My business owner even came out and visited me in the hospital. Like I was surrounded by a lot of love and a lot of good thoughts. So, that kind of get me going. By the end of the month, by the end of November, I was at my wits end. I couldn't fucking eat the hospital food anymore. I was fucking losing my shit. So, so they let me go. It was getting to the point now where, after not having any chemotherapy for like 2.5, 3 weeks, like my levels in my blood were starting to return to normal. So they were like, "You're not totally there where we should be letting you out, but like we're gonna let you out because like you're good enough where like you're not gonna die immediately if you get exposed to something."
Mm-hmm.
But for the next 5 months, I didn't get any chemotherapy during the month of December, but I did January, February, March, and April.
Okay.
Um, and I would go in for about 4 days at the beginning or at the end of every month, and I would get chemotherapy for those 3 or 4 days, and then I would go home, and the levels in my blood would drop, and I would have to be super careful. What I mean by that is like my white blood cells would deplete to zero. Like everything in my immune system would deplete to zero. So like you would catch the cold and you'd be like, "Oh fuck, this sucks. Like I've got the sniffies." I would catch a cold and I go, "Oh fuck, this sucks. I'm gonna die."
So that
So
is that what you meant by saying, like if you were to get exposed to something. So yeah, that's what you meant when you said, if you were to get exposed to something, it would just be because your immune system, all your white blood cells were dropped to zero.
yeah, I mean, yeah, like everything in my blood that the there are so many. I've come to learn through this experience that there are a plethora of things of um uh I don't want to call them chemicals, but like properties that make up the blood that do different things within the blood. Like there is a property within the blood called platelets, and that is what helps clot your blood when you get a scratch, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's weird thing, like there's another thing called a hemoglobin, which is what allows the oxygen to flow through your blood.
I've
There's
heard
all
that
kinds
word
of
before.
there's all kinds of craziness to this shit,
Yeah.
dude. So So everything in your blood drops. Everything drops to zero. And yeah, man, uh if you get exposed to something, which by the second, uh so I did the 7+3, and then I did two more rounds after that of chemotherapy, right? 2 more months after that. By the second round of chemotherapy, going into the third one, I got sick. Like I caught something when my levels were down, and it almost killed me. Like I had spent one Friday afternoon sleeping all day, and by Saturday, like my brother, like because I'm moved in with my brother and his family
Okay.
during cancer treatment because I wouldn't have been able to do it in Kansas by myself.
So you
There's
moved
just
to so you were in Chicago.
yeah,
Okay.
I dipped out of Kansas and I moved to Chicago.
Yeah. Okay.
So and that's where I've been getting cancer treatment. Um One Friday afternoon, I just wasn't feeling well. I just felt like I just need to sleep. I just felt tired. Like I didn't really feel like unwell. I just felt tired. I didn't really want to eat. I just felt tired, so I just slept. By Saturday night, or no, it must have even just been Friday night. I think it was just by Friday night, like by like midnight. My brother and my sister-in-law came into my room and they were like, dude, like you're fucked up. And they were right. Like I had thrown up a couple times. I wasn't even thinking about it. Like I was just like, oh, I'm just really tired. What's crazy about this is that the doctors warned us about this. They were
Yeah.
like if you get sick when your levels are depleted and you start to go septic, like you're not going to be able to make rational decisions. You're not going to be able to think clearly. And I was like, what the fuck does that even feel like? Well, that's what that feels like. You just don't think
Yeah.
about it. You just don't think about it. So,
You were
they
going
fu-
septic.
I was going septic. So they picked my ass up and they threw me in the car and they brought me downtown to the ER and they fucking I was in the ER and dude, they they put five different IVs in me and they started pumping me with life-saving drugs. It was a fucking for real moment where my brother was genuinely having to think about calling up our mother and being like, my younger brother is dead.
You were that like I'm almost in tears because I'm thinking about like when right when my dad like when we knew my dad was passing, the doctors were like he's septic. There's no coming back, and like that you were I'm fuck.
Yeah, yeah, dude, so so I was going septic, right? They got five different IVs in me, three in one arm, two in one arm, two in the other, and one in my neck. And they started pumping me with whatever, and I don't remember everything. What I do remember is like it was kind of almost like a DMT experience where when I closed my eyes, I saw something really profound, which doesn't sound like that. I'm sure that there's probably going to be a lot of people in the comments that are like, listen to this fucking goofball. But uh, I uh, so when I closed my eyes,
Mm-hmm.
like I remember looking up and I remember them putting me in through like a MRI or like a CT scanner or something. And I remember looking up as they put me through this thing and I closed my eyes and I remember seeing a gorilla. And I remember seeing this gorilla have like a pulsating effect, like kind of like a moving effect with my breathing. Like it moved with my breathing. But every time it moved, it eventually got closer and eventually got closer and closer to the point where like, dude, I could see the ridges in the color of its eye. Like I was like it they look like mountains. Like they were so fucking close. And much like a DMT trip, when despite whatever you see, it kind of has a message for you, and it kind of has um, like it's not really so much of words, but more of a feeling. And it was kind of like this gorilla was saying like, you're not supposed to fucking die yet, dude. Like, keep breathing, dude. Like, keep going. Like, don't, keep fighting. you know, not keep fighting. Like there was nothing that ever fucking told me to keep fighting, but like, don't die. Basically, it was very much a like don't give up yet and don't die yet because you're not supposed to kind of feeling. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
So your spirit animal is a gorilla.
I guess my fucking spirit animal is a gorilla. Yeah, I guess it took me almost dying to figure out what my spirit animal was, but I guess it's a gorilla. So
So,
yeah.
uh, so after that, like when you got through that, did you not leave the hospital until like it was all said and done,
No,
or
no, it was crazy. So I was in the ER and then I was in the ICU for like almost a week, and they treated whatever infection was in me that like had gotten me fucked up. And dude, it was a crazy turnaround. Like I remember being in the hospital the last day that I was gonna be there and thinking to myself, like, holy shit, dude, like I was fucking dead a couple days ago. And like here I am, like, and I remember like being in that position and looking back on the past couple days of like having sat in the ICU and looking at my progress and how much it got better over the days where I was just pumped full of antibiotics, and I remember like 2 days prior to me getting out, they like reduced it a little bit, like the antibiotics from like 5 bags to like 3 bags or like to 2 bags or whatever. It was all through the IV. Everything was IV. And then the last day, I've felt pretty normal, and like my levels were coming back, so they were like, all right, you can go home, like you're pretty good now. So I went home, and then like 2 weeks later I came back to the hospital and stayed for like 3 days for the chemotherapy. So I didn't have to stay for that, thankfully, because dude, by the like after the first month, um it's it's really hard to go back to the hospital every month and know that you have to eat that hospital food. Like I I resented the food more than I did the chemotherapy. Think about that. I'm accepting it and more okay with the poison that they pumped into me more than the food that they served me. That food was fucking atrocious, dude.
so so you get through all of that, and now are you finally cancer free?
I am finally cancer free. Yeah. So my birthday was earlier this June, and we found out a couple days, probably about a week prior to my birthday that, we did one last bone marrow biopsy, and they do two different tests. The first one, they'll look at every like 1 in 100 cells, and that will kind of give you a good idea. But the other test, which usually takes a lot longer, will test every one in like 100,000 cells.
Mhm.
Like it has like a really, really deeper dive, and that will really tell you for sure if you're cancer free or not. So we did the bone marrow biopsy test. About a week and a half later, my doctor called me, and she's like, enjoy going to a concert, enjoy traveling, like you are fucking cancer free, dude. And I was like, thank you very much. Excellent news. This is great. So, it's funny because like I don't geek out about a lot, but like beating cancer was something that I kind of like geeked out about. So that was cool.
Nah, I bet this the bit I like. People are gonna be like, "Swag, you a pussy," because like this whole episode, I've been bawling my eyes out. I'm like holding back tears right now. We were rooting for you the whole time, baby. Like I'm happy you kicked cancer's ass. Do you still do checkups every like couple months or?
Yeah, so that's the craziest thing is that like my first podcast back, which I had a couple days ago, I took the first like 15 minutes kind of explaining like where I've been and like what I've been going through, and that was one of the things that I acknowledged was like all the people that have been in my corner since this started, all the people that allowed me to heal in silence, and whether it was you or whether it was Nessie or Shoot or uh, ATB or uh, Demo. I mean, like, there's so many people that I can name that like reached out to me over the past few months, over really almost a year now. I mean, this is going on almost 9 months now. Um, to let me heal and to not only let me heal, but to also like have my back when I return, to have a spot for me when I return. It's been it it's almost unreal, you know. It's almost like I have to take a step back and go, what did I do to deserve like all this love? Like, it's crazy. It's really wild. So it's been awesome coming back. I'm still not quite in the position where I want to be, but like, you know, to be back in the community, to be active again, it's been really awesome. So I've definitely been extremely appreciative of, you know, not only the people who, you know, checked up on me every so often, but, you know, all the people who have had my back like since I've returned.
Yeah, I was gonna dedicate my win against Romero to you, but I ended up losing. So yeah, I couldn't dedicate the loss to you. I could,
Is it monetized? You can dedicate the earnings to me.
that's not monetized in my favor. I don't know. I don't know if it's monetized for him. He got way more subs than me. I don't know, but
Hey, you know what though? Good on you for doing that. There's a lot of people that open their mouth in this community, but there's no way that they would do what you did. So, you know, you're a fucking hero too.
Dad, I'm not as much as a hero as you. Don't. Romero just picked me up and put me down. I'm getting my get back though. When we get the rematch can be dedicated to you. I'm not losing.
Okay. All right.
2025. At
I'm gonna
least.
Well, now that you got like 6 or 7 jujitsu classes in you, like, now that you got a
Hey,
stripe on that white
hey,
belt,
hey.
like, now you might be able to.
My second stripe's coming soon. All right.
All right, all
You you
right, all
know
right.
I'm finally I'm coming down, and I got a nice little technique. Right. I come right in. I push back with the ankle pick. I come right into a Kimura.
Yeah,
I be dog
yeah.
walking the 1 week
If
jiu-jitsu practitioners.
See, as of right now, I'm still pretty confident that that if we were to go into an MMA match, I'd be successful. However, if you get your blue belt, I'm not gonna feel that way anymore. So, yeah, let's hold on to that white belt a
it's
little longer.
it's a lose-lose for me, and and I'm not. I don't want my blue belt till at least after September, because I'm competing in a Naga in September, and I want to compete beginner white belt. So if I get my blue belt before that, I'll be very sad. But so now you're back. And you're back to doing the pods. You just had your most recent episode come out with Mr. Lucky. Do you kind of want to talk about your plans with the podcast and other content now that you're back?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I'm trying to get back into everything that I was doing, whether it be the podcast or commentary. So I did the podcast. I did the commentary for Lucky's new league, Supremacy FC, on Friday, yesterday, which was great. It was an awesome card. People loved it. People loved the presentation. People loved the fights. People loved the commentary. So it was fantastic all around. Um, I had a big showing for the podcast on the first episode back, so that was great. So I'm just gonna keep trying to, you know, to keep the momentum going. Like, I definitely want to do more shows of the podcast. I remember prior to getting sick, I was thinking about doing more than one show a week. Like, I wanted to do at least two a week, and then I got sick and I couldn't do anything. So, if I can find the content, then I will start doing more shows. I still want to do like watch parties, like I was thinking of. So I'm still thinking of doing that. Probably after this interview, I'll probably pull up an old primetime card and start streaming, and we'll have like a little watch party or something. I don't know. Um, but yeah, like, I want to. There's definitely more that I want to do. I want to get I want to do primetime commentary. Like, I want to get in the booth. I reached out to Z Hunter while I was still sick, and I gave him some promos of some stuff that I've done, and he's like, "All right, when you feel better, when you feel up to it, give me a reach." give me a call. So I might reach out to him and be like, "Hey, I'm fucking feeling better. Let's do this." So I don't know. Like I feel like I am extremely privileged and lucky to have a lot of options open to me right now. So yeah, it's just a matter of like what's like I've always done this um because it's fun. So, you know, no matter what I've done with the commentary, the podcast, whatever, I've always done it because it's always been fun to me. It's always been something that I enjoy. So it's just a matter of like whatever's most enjoyable, you know. I have like I said, I have so many options. It's just it's all dependent on what I enjoy the most in the moment. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. And so with the podcast, with the 2 episodes a week, are you still doing the podcast live?
Yeah, yeah, the podcast is still live, so you know, like I said, like for right now, it's just gonna be once a week,
Mm-hmm.
until I can get back into the groove of things.
Yeah.
You know, the first episode went well, and I think that's mostly just because Lucky was there. You know, he it was somebody that I could talk to. I need to get back into the groove of things in terms of like talking to myself or talking to people that aren't talking back to me, in a way that can still be entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you know, here's the thing is that like I don't know if if I'm a victim of not being in the community for a while, or if it's just simply that there's just not much going on, but there just doesn't really seem that there's a whole lot to talk about in the UFC 5 community now. You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of
Um.
leagues that are gone, there's a lot of leagues that aren't really doing their thing anymore. There's a lot of heavy hitters that as in terms of like league owners or promotional people that aren't there anymore, you know? So it's a different landscape.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, so yeah. Now while you were gone, there was really like nothing. UFC 5 came out. It was garbage.
Mm-mm.
We had a little bit of Team Marshall versus Team Pride beef for a little bit. That lasted for a long time. There was a little bit of beef recently, but really, anytime the game gets big, it's because of beef or an update. There's really no hype behind the game anymore, and I even sometimes feel that UFC 4 was bigger than 5.
Mm.
um like a lot of the Twitch streamers don't play it anymore, just like I'm talking strictly from the Twitch side. I don't really know about anything else. I mean, I know on TikTok side, like iGame completely stopped playing UFC. And he's somebody that gets millions of views.
Mm.
Roy Season doesn't really touch UFC much. I mean, he still does, but not as much as he was playing UFC 4. And he's another one that gets a lot of eyes. Marshall literally told me on this podcast that he hates that game.
Mm.
So
Wow.
like,
That is so interesting coming from a guy who was like so fucking like I am the mouth of UFC 5.
yeah, we talked about that actually, and like, he was like, and when they all told me this, the game they played was not the game we got.
What?
The game they played was not the game we got, but that's water under the bridge. And but like the big content creators don't like playing this anymore. Like you got it, and you kind of have a new blood of content creators coming in. Like I guess people, because of Naz's recent like blow up to even
Yeah,
bigger
his
than he
takeoff.
was,
Yeah.
he's like technically considered a new blood. Nabality, um, shout out Nabality. He's massive, and the new bloods are taking over with Naz is just really good at the game, and then Nabality has like fantastic storytelling. But realistically, when it comes to it, like nobody's really watching UFC content like that
Mm.
anymore. Like,
But you
and
know what? You know what you know what I think that is? I think that that's mostly because UFC 5 the release puts such a poor taste in people's mouth that they don't even want to acknowledge the game anymore. And I think I mean, this could be something that I could talk about on my own podcast as well, I suppose. But and I did kind of touch on it a little bit during the first episode back. But the state of UFC 5 is it is different now. And listen, this is coming from a guy who when it first came out, I was one of those dudes who was dogging it. I was like, no, this is UFC four and a
Yeah,
half.
you were, bro. You were
This
straight
is
up.
this is UFC 4 DLC. Like, don't purchase this. This is bullshit. And listen, I still partially still kind of believe that way. It's still just a slightly updated UFC 4. They're adding a lot of fighters pretty soon. I saw that, so I think people are probably going to be a little hyped for that because there's a lot of fighters that are being added, but especially names that I don't fucking know who these people are. I think that's probably
Well,
mostly just because like I don't watch MMA
people
anymore,
are
but
getting what they wanted. Yeah, so people got exactly what they wanted with all of like the top 10s and the top 15s getting added, and
yeah.
people like often forget that like usually from like 7 to 15 you never heard of that guy before. You
Yeah.
never heard of that guy before. And like 14, 15, they've probably been in the game for years. They're like Paul Felder at one point was like 14 for 7 years.
Mm.
Like guys like that. So yeah, the people are getting exactly what they wanted now. I feel like I've this is gonna sound wild. I feel like I've grown as a gamer. So where like I've
What the
like
fuck does that even mean, Swaggy? What does that mean? You've grown as a gamer.
I'm on my journey to becoming an Elden Lord Jedi. Like
Oh,
not
jeez, here we go.
not many UFC fivers
As
can say
fucking
that, right? Like
did fucking Jedi set you on this fucking journey, or
Jedi didn't even
what
beat the
happened?
game. I'm gonna get farther than he did. I promise.
See, I knew
I've
it. I
betted
knew
on
it.
that. The
Oh,
second I
fucking
get farther than Jedi did, I've already succeeded. And then the second I become Elden Lord, I've proven everybody wrong. However, like and the community I feel like has changed a little bit too, as to where like a lot of like people just like aren't around anymore because they've retired. They don't want to touch it anymore. But then we are starting to see a lot of old faces come back.
hmm
And but yeah, and the content's completely different too. But that's also because like what people want to see is much different. Like it's kind of like the
Is
King
it though? Like
Diaz
what?
effect.
What did people want to see? That's so much different. That like a guy like Nas is still on the rise. You know what I mean? Like because
He's
he's only
under
doing UFC five content. You know what I mean? Like so
he's
what?
him and Nabality. And here's the difference between him and
But
Nabality.
Prioxis is doing the same thing. Prioxis is still making UFC five content. What?
Bryoxis still makes UFC 5 content, but he does other games as well. He's variety ish. However,
Um,
variety ish. However, the main difference between Naz and Nabality, which are like two UFC 5 mains, Nabality has like the storytelling, like you cannot click off of a video. Naz is really fucking good at the game.
what's the
Interesting at times.
storytelling though? Like what? Like I've never heard of Navality. So Navality. I don't know who this person is.
Navality, he made. Do you remember when UFC 5 first came out and everybody was making national tournament videos? Or I think it was the very end of UFC 4 before 5 came out. Everybody was making national tournament videos. Nabality was the one that like his video went crazy. When UFC 5 first came out, he had a video hit like 1.5 mil. It was getting a win by every like he got a win with like submission, knockout, and Doctor Stoppage. Like he like
Oh,
he's that guy,
like
the
you,
Irish lad. He
yeah,
doesn't show his
he's
face.
not a game changer, but like he was like one of those dudes that like got to play the game and like advertise it on YouTube and shit early.
I don't think he got to play it early, but
Uh,
he did. He did eventually do a deal with EA. He did eventually
oh,
do an
okay,
EA video. He just recently did a video with EA. If you beat me, you win $1,000.
okay.
Nabal. That's crazy. That's crazy. I love you, Nabality. Nabality's definitely watching this. However,
I mean, listen, all love for what's his name? Nabality.
Nabality,
Nabality.
Nabality.
All right.
Navality.
All love for Nabality. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. I was dealing with cancer while you were blowing up.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no,
my
no, no.
bad.
You have a
My
pass.
bad.
You have a pass. You have a pass. Like
My bad.
you're good. You're good. I'm not, I'm not mad at you for not knowing who Navality. I wish I didn't know who Navality was. But like back on your point of why people are still watching Naz. Naz is like an unnatural talent at the game. Naz is also interesting at times. Naz also is like very chaotic and like what's the
Yeah.
word? Controversial. Um,
Uh,
and
yeah. I mean, he goes for the fake glove touches and all that, and fucking people love it.
yeah, people love it. So like that's a story of Naz right there. But like a lot of people have switched off, or that's not all they play. They still play it, but like they're more variety or things like that. Or some people just don't touch it at all. Or some people still main it and haven't switched it up at all and still do the same shit they were doing and get no results. But you know, that's the UFC community now. However, did you end up moving back to Kansas? Or are you still in Chicago?
Uh, as of right now, I'm still in Chicago. I will most likely not be moving back to Kansas. As much as I'd like to, because the town that I was in was pretty cool. It's just there's too much there that I don't need to go back to.
Mm.
Which sucks because not only was the town cool, but the town had like a lot of good food too. So that's food that I'll never really get again, which kind of sucks. I'm just a fatty. I'm always thinking about food. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about going out to Michigan because the prices for cannabis is extremely low. They are giving it away. You will feel like a criminal when you leave the dispensary. Yeah. Well, hey, 2 ounces for $70. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying.
Need
Just
a
saying.
roommate?
Yeah. Actually, I might, which is kind of unfortunate because I would like to just be back out on my own, like I was once, like before I got sick. But I might, fucking, it's hard to do it by yourself nowadays, so I might need a roommate.
It's
And
fucking expensive out there.
the reason why one of the biggest reasons why I don't want to do it with a roommate is because I can't fucking trust anybody. I don't and all the people that I know are like married or they're already in their own place doing their own thing. Like I can't fucking, you know what I mean? Like I can't trust anybody. You, however, I could trust. And if you need a fucking place and if you decided to come out to Michigan, fucking we can link and we could fucking, yeah, dude, we could do something. Yeah,
That'd
we
be
can make
crazy.
that
It,
work.
it would be like a creator crib. Do you still have the cat?
I do still have the
You
cat.
brought the
Yeah,
cat with you? All right. Cool.
she's actually pretty cool. She's sitting right here with me. I have come to perhaps realize that prior to me getting her, she was probably a feral cat. She was probably just outside all the time. She was probably never really a house cat, and being with me is probably the first time she's ever been a house cat. So that's weird. That probably explains like her skittish behavior, but over the years of having her, she's like really chilled out. So, yeah, I don't think she would be a problem.
See, every man needs a cat. I was
Yeah.
more asking about the cat because like I was just
Oh,
curious
because
if
of
you.
Anakin?
Yeah.
Oh, she'd fucking hate Anakin.
Well, I'm not even talking about this. Like, if you really want me to come to Michigan with you, huh?
I mean, I'm just saying, bro. Like if you're the only you're one of the few people who I would actually like genuinely be like, fucking, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
I'd consider it. I you know, we'll look at it. We'll make it happen. Um,
Listen, I'll show you one of the dispensary websites that I went to, and you'll be like, "Oh fuck yeah, yeah, no, let's make it happen." Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
guaranteed,
nah,
proper.
I do like on my selling points on like play because I've been wanting to get out of Rhode Island for a long time, especially with
Ah,
COVID, and I want to go somewhere that's like content makeable. Michigan, depending on where, seems right. As long as I'm not in Detroit, and
hey,
like
there's a lot of content to be made in Detroit. Don't knock Detroit. But however, after this, I will tell you where I am planning on going, and I'll tell you a little bit about it, and you'll be like, yeah, okay, fucking sounds good.
not
I
bad.
promise.
But yeah, so we're nearing towards the end of the episode. Shit. Do you have any other plans you want to talk about? Do you want to plug your stuff? You know, go for it. Plug everything. Tell the people where to find you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, jeez. YouTube. Twitch. Um. You just look up my name, BaronVonJedi. Twitter or now X. Um. Uh, you can find me on Spotify if you just look up my podcast, Baron Von Jedi, Sci-Fi to Muay Thai. I know it's a lot, but if you just look up my name, it'll come up. I promise. Um, yeah, I'm not 100% sure where else I am. I think that that's really it. Discord, don't spam me on Discord. I don't want to fucking answer your messages. Um, but yeah, that's I think that's really it. I appreciate you bringing me on the podcast, Swaggy. It's been a while, and you were one of those people who was in my corner during the time that I was gone, and you fucking you cared a lot about me, and it fucking shows, dude. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you bringing me on and giving me a spot to have a voice.
Well, yeah, man, you were a big inspiration to a lot of the shit I did do when you were away, like a lot of the PT stuff and the Cush Corner and the post mortem. It was all inspired by you. You know, you're the OG of the UFC sports community. Podcast set centre. But yeah, y'all know where to catch us every Wednesday. I'm sorry we were a little late last week. YouTube hit me with a strike. I'm sorry, YouTube. I won't let it happen again. Smash that subscribe button. If you're listening somewhere else that's not YouTube, let's smack us to the top of the algo. Hit the follows. I don't know if you can follow everywhere. iHeartRadio, I've never been there. Just follow, like, do whatever you can. I love y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.